My reaction to my cousin not bringing a turkey to Christmas dinner. I, 30F, got into an argument with my cousin, 22F, uncle, 72M, and aunt, 67F, recently over something my cousin did, or didn't do. So to give some information, my cousin is kind of unreliable, spoiled and seen as the rainbow child in our family. Her parents did have her when they were old and had given up on having kids. They tried in their late 20s and early 30s but had 3 miscarriages. She could do no wrong in their eyes. They were pretty well off as well. She could do something that would land her jail for 30 years to life and they would still come up with an excuse to defend her. She blew her college fund on parties, clothes, jewelry, etc. And all her parents did was just give her more money, which she blew in a month, and told her whatever she thinks is best she does. So Jenna, fake name, around a year ago got into making realistic cakes, and I must say, despite my one-sided beef with her, she is really good at it and even on par with professionals. She could make a living out of it if she settled down. Christmas was coming up and they tasked everyone with something to do: make from home and just bring the food to the host's house and just heat it up to make everything easier. Jenna was tasked with bringing the turkey. I, clearly knowing she was going to mess it up, asked if they're sure about that, don't they want to give it to someone more reliable and give Jenna a smaller task, or just nothing at all. They all dismissed me and said, calm down, she'll come through, she won't screw it up because she knows how important it is. So fast forward to Christmas Day, everyone was arriving to the house but Jenna was a bit late. We FaceTimed her and she said she was in her car on her way and the turkey is very hot so there would be no need to heat it up. When Jenna arrived, she placed the turkey down on the table and called everyone around to show them something. She had a knife in her hand and was hovering over the turkey. She put the knife through to reveal that it was a realistic cake. It was very realistic, to be honest. All of our family clapped and said how talented she was. I asked her, so where's the real turkey? She responded with, oh, I didn't have time to buy or bake it since my time was spent on the cake. I lost it and said, how could you forget one of the major dishes that we need? You screwed up your college fund just like how you screwed up dinner. She began crying and her parents called me in a hole and said I ruined Christmas. Half of the family is siding with my uncle and aunts and saying I didn't have to shout at her, while the others are saying I'm in the right.
Comment 1. Esh. You shouldn't have shouted, but I can understand being hangry after waiting for a main course that isn't even being served would make me angry too. Did she volunteer for it to be her task? 'Cause if she did so, she might have tried to use that as a spectacle for her realistic cake. Bro, how do you not at the very least buy a cooked turkey if you know you don't have time to cook one yourself? You don't even need to go out these days, anything can be ordered and then forget about it till it arrives. Comment 2. I mean, the shouting was maybe a bit much, but NTA. She spent hours and dollars to make this meal out herself. She knew everyone would praise her work. But even if it's professor-level cake, that doesn't change that. She made a promise and broke it. She caused the entire meal plan falling apart. What? Let them eat cake if they can't have turkey? Yeah, no one actually enjoys eating only sides and 3 pounds of cake for dinner. She did blow the dinner, since she was responsible for the main dish and didn't even try to commit to it. Comment 3. ESH. I love food too much and would have been so annoyed that she was so cavalier about being tasked with bringing the main dish and decided to do a show and tell of her realistic cakes. But you managing to bring her very irrelevant college fund into it just makes it sound like your reaction was less about the turkey and more about your distaste for everything Jenna. It served no purpose at all. Bringing my nieces and nephews to the mall and give them money to buy their own presents. I, 30F, am an aunt to 2 nieces, 10, and 2 nephews, 11 and 8, as well as 1 step-niece, 16F. Their parents are doing okay financially, though not comfortable. I am much better off money-wise. I'm one of those people who don't know what to give people during Christmas and don't have enough energy to figure out or guess. For years I gave friends and family gift cards to places I know they frequent, like favorite coffee shops or bookstores. For nieces and nephews, I gave cash. I always thought their parents let them buy things they wanted, but my bio nieces and nephews recently complained to me how their parents took my cash gifts and put the amount in each kid's saving account. They said they wanted to be able to buy stuff like their oldest sister. My step-niece also received cash gift from me, but her mom let her spend the money. So for this year I gave each a box of chocolate at the Christmas gathering and told them I would also take them to the mall as part of my Christmas presents. I took all 5 out yesterday and gave them $50 each, with the oldest getting $70, and told them to buy what they like. I asked the oldest to take the youngest to look around while I asked the middle 3 where in the mall they would like to go and took them. At the end of the day everyone got candies and toys and books and clothes. I fed everyone at the food court and dropped them off at my parents' because their parents were meeting some friends. Later that night my sister called to yell at me. She said it was completely inappropriate of me to let her kids spend money freely like that. She said she put the money in the bank for them to teach them to be frugal, while I just encouraged them to spend outside of their means. She said once her kids reached their teens, like her stepdaughter, she would allow them to use the money, too, but right now they're too young and I am spoiling them. I think spending money on what you like is part of the Christmas experience. It's just sad to have to be frugal even during the holidays. Comment 1. NTA. I had an aunt-like family friend who did this with me every year, and it's such a sweet tradition. We'd go to one of the bigger malls, have lunch, look around at the stores that were different from my usual mall, and I'd get a stuffed animal or something. She didn't have kids of her own and didn't really know what I'd want or might already have, so instead we had a nice day out. Comment 2. NTA. It's $50. It's not like you gave them $1,000. Spending well outside their means is an extreme exaggeration. I personally would have loved to have a mall trip like that as a kid. You know those kids will use what they bought and gave them a nice day out with you. I think you did an awesome job. Comment 3. NTA. I could maybe understand the parents wanting to save some of that money for their kids, but taking the entire cash gift to put in their savings accounts is ridiculous. Sounds like you had a great day with them that they'll remember for a long time and be able to enjoy their gifts from. Maybe next time you could plan a fun outing with them where it's more just the experience that's the gift. That could be a good compromise. Not paying back my older brother that helped to raise me. My brother, older by 11 years, did a lot for me when I was younger and still living with our parents. With him so much older than me, it often felt like he was a second dad to me. Not only did he give advice and guidance, but he also paid for things out of his own pocket, took me on road trips, paid for movies/restaurants, let me borrow his car, etc. Even when I was a young adult after high school, he let me stay in his apartment, rent-free for a month, before I got my first job. Not only that, he bought me a suit for my first job interview. All this was really great, and I'm very fortunate to have a brother that looked out for me. He has been looking out for me for as long as I can remember. However, also for as long as I can remember, he has told me you'll pay me back one day. The first time I remember him saying this I was 5 years old and he was 16 years old. Every time he would do something nice for me, he told me you'll pay me back one day. Being told this since a very young age, I automatically believed it was true and agreed that I would pay him back. Even into my early 20s, I felt that I really owed him and that I needed to pay him back at some point. I did do nice things for him when I had the opportunity, but not nearly to the scale that he did for me. Being so much younger, I just couldn't do as much for him as he did for me. Fast forward to today, I'm 32 years old and a dad. When I do nice things for my kid, I can't imagine saying you'll pay me back one day. In fact, I think that anyone that would try to instill a feeling of monetary debt in a young child is a total asshole. A young child doesn't have the mental capacity to understand what this means or the ability to consent to debt. I have a small business and my brother recently told me that, because he helped me so much while I was growing up, he should be given 20% of the revenue in perpetuity. I was shocked. I refused to pay him. He was extremely upset. I've since decided that I don't owe him any money and that he may have been psychologically manipulating me since I was a young child. Comment 1. NTA, the only one entitled to receive 20% of the income from your business in perpetuity would be the owner of 20% of the business. His request is unreasonable, and it is not your obligation to pay him for everything he did. But I have many doubts about his motivation for asking for such a large amount of money. Does he have financial problems? Was he unable to study because he had to take care of you? Why didn't your parents take care of both of you when you were little? Comment 2. NTA. I was thinking if anyone needs to pay him back, it's your parents. It's their job to parent you. But even then, what you mentioned is all his decisions. He decided to bring you out, etc. Your parents didn't ask him to do it from the info given. Don't give in to his absurd request. BC, you think you need to pay him back. He is being delusional. Comment 3. NTA. But I would give him a one-time sum to clear my own conscience. For example, would everything he did amount to about 2-3K, just guesswork? Give him the amount you feel is right, pay it, and be done with it. If you can afford it, OFC. Along with it, tell him your thoughts about telling children they owe adults money, him trying to come back and collect it, the way he went about it, etc. has lost him your respect forever. Making my only child boyfriend choose Nye between me and his divorced mother. My 27F boyfriend David, 35M, is from a European country. I am from the US, but we met studying at a university in the UK. He is an only child and his parents are divorced. I am going to be starting a professional degree in the US fall 2024 while he stays in the UK for his work and we do distance. Since it's the holiday season right now, we started talking about how we will handle the holidays next year with my restrictive schedule. I only get 2 days off for Thanksgiving and 2 weeks off around the holidays in the whole semester. I basically told David that I would spend 1 week with my family for Christmas and then spend the second week with him somewhere on a trip of our choosing. David and I travel together a lot as it's our favorite thing to do because thanks to Ryanair, European flights are cheap. David said to me that wherever we go, he's going to have to bring his mom because she's going to be lonely on Nye and they go on a trip together every year for Nye. He said she can't spend time with her siblings and their family because they go to their in-laws' side of the family for Nye. I basically told him that I think it's absolutely unacceptable and that I would not be visiting if we are going somewhere with his mother. I said I understand she might be lonely on one night, but I only get 2 weeks off and am choosing to spend that week with him instead of my family. His mom is retired and they could easily postpone their trip to a week in January. I understand it's not exactly Nye, but I don't have that level of flexibility while they do. It's not like he is skipping Christmas with his family to spend it with me and mine in the US, so I also think it's offensive to my family that I would ditch them for Nye to spend it with David and his mom. I don't dislike his mother, she's fine, but I don't want to spend the only vacation days I have with time to fly transatlantic to be with his mother. The alone time would be important to me, and to be frank, a holiday with BF's side of the family is not particularly restful. Comment 1. YTA. I think if you're serious about this relationship long term, you should probably get used to the idea of splitting holidays between your families. Comment 2. NTA. Unless you get annoyed if he chooses his mum, don't force someone into a choice unless you're going to accept whatever they choose. Giving my child the same name as my friend's stillborn baby? I, 26F, am currently 7 months pregnant, and a few weeks ago we found out that we were having a little girl. My husband, 28M, and I had already decided on what to name our baby depending on the gender, and upon finding out that she was going to be a girl, we announced that we would name her Adelaide. I first heard of this name when I was a kid and thought it was beautiful, and decided that if I ever had a daughter, I would name her Adelaide. After hearing this, one of my friends, 27F, who I have been close with since we were at university, began acting distant towards us. Throughout my pregnancy I have tried to be sensitive to her feelings, as I knew it was a sore point for her. 2 years ago, She tragically lost her baby girl to a stillbirth. I can't even begin to imagine how heartbreaking this must have been for her, and I made sure I supported her through this devastating loss. Despite her trauma, she has never been anything less than kind and empathetic towards me, up until that day. A couple of weeks later, she confronted us, suggesting we change the name of our baby, to which we rebuffed. She kept on trying to convince us, suggesting different names, or saying that Adelaide was too old-fashioned or that it wouldn't suit our child. We kept on denying to change her name, until eventually my friend started crying and revealed that Adelaide was the name she'd chosen for her stillborn baby. When she was pregnant, she refused to tell anyone her baby's name, as she wanted it to be a surprise for when she was born. After the stillbirth, she decided she would keep the name to herself because it was personal to her, to which we understood. Until recently, no one knew what her baby was going to be called. She claims that, by keeping our name, we are disrespecting the memory of her baby. She said that if I chose the same name, then my daughter would be a living reminder of what could have been. I completely understand her grief, but I believe I should have the right to name my own child without being burdened by someone else's trauma. Comment 1. NTA. But this is why you tell no one a baby's name till it's born. Kinda personal choice to keep it or change it though, possible you lose a friend. Comment 2. NTA. You were unaware of that fact until she told you. So, most definitely NTA. This might be the rock she is willing to die on though, so I would keep that in mind during the next confrontation. So you might lose a friendship. I personally would argue that by keeping the name it is even more special. Seriously, what is the likelihood that you both choose the same unique old-fashioned name? Could be a signed smile, not to mention, it would be honoring her daughter in a way.